Hey everyone, thanks for joining this week. Just a few quick housekeeping things. We do have all of the lines muted just to help make sure that the sound stays clear. So for any questions that you do have, please use the Q&A or the chat function. And then also just as a reminder to log this and engage for an easy 10 points in training. So this week we have Bill Reedy, who's a channel security engineer, talking to us about SandBlast Now. So Bill, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. All right, hey everyone. So Bill Reedy here, channel SC out of Georgia, and today we're going to talk about SandBlast Now, which is a pretty interesting tool that we use. It's basically an appliance, or it's also a cloud product that utilizes our threat prevention technologies. And there are different use cases for you using it, and we'll go through all of those today. So, all right, so SandBlast Now, your eyes into the network, right? So, you know, I've been, an SE for almost 5 years here at Checkpoint, and sometimes, just getting equipment into a network can be kind of challenging, and to see what's going on. So the idea behind SandBlast Now is that it's plug and play, right? So on the deploy, in the past, you need to get a bunch of build info from customers. You needed management IPs, subnet mask, net mask, default gateways. You needed to get VLANs. You needed to have the mirror switches to see logs. And so the deployment of SandBlast Now is extremely easy. And the use case for it is for security checkups, as well as customers that, let's say, they have a gateway solution for on-prem, but they have another year on it, and they're not running all the products, but they can't add on more products. They have gaps in their security posture. You can basically plug a SandBlast Now appliance in directly behind whatever their current solution is, and you're running the high level threat prevention that we're known for through NSS Labs and other third-party outlets. So it's tailored for SOCs and MSSPs, so it's cloud managed, right? You can deploy these things, you can build it, throw it in the back of the trunk of your car, and then whenever you're in a meeting with a customer, if they're like, you know what, I don't know how well my vendor A, B, or C is really doing, you can basically plug this in. It phones home to our Checkpoint SMP portal, basically, and we'll pull the latest IPS protections. It'll do antibot, antivirus, IPS, as well as threat emulation, cloud threat emulation. And so it's a really easy, scalable way to show value and to help protect customers without needing any build info, basically, from them. As far as the hunt goes, the hunting portion of this, there's a pretty cool feature we're going to show both in slides, and I also actually built an appliance here that I'll show you that actually shows a network map of hosts and who they're talking to, and whether those hosts are part of a botnet, if it's an IPS hit, and all of this is driven by our threat cloud, right? The largest IOC database out there, and that's due to Checkpoint. We've been around since 1993. We have hundreds of thousands of gateways out there. We have millions of instances of endpoint protections out there, endpoints out there, as on the consumer side, on the enterprise side. So all of this feeds into Threat Cloud, and that Threat Cloud then is turned into a policy. That policy is cloud managed and pushed down to the SandBlast Now sensors that you would install. Comprehensive dashboards. So pretty much all the reporting that you know and love from Smart Event exists in this cloud management that I'll be showing you. And it is GDPR compliant for those customers out there that do business in the EU. And then last but not least is prevent, right? So there's two modes that you can have running SandBlast Now. You can have it as passive and detect, right? So if you just want to see what's going on, but not really, and then turn it on protect later, and actually have prevent later. I actually have a real world example of doing this for a customer who became a customer, a net new customer. And the rest of the parts here on the prevent is just the fact that we can turn on the fly, no matter where you are out there. If you install an appliance in another state, let's say, you can log in and manage this appliance, see the logs. If we see a hit on an IPS protection that might be detect on the fly from your home office, you can go ahead and set that to a prevent and help the customer. So with that, let's kind of jump into it. So SandBlast Now, I kind of spoke about this before, zero cost immediate onboarding. So, we do use this as a service. This is a for sale product. This is in the product catalog for sale, as well as the local SEs within Checkpoint. We can enable our partners out there to how to build these. I have steps on that later on in this presentation. It's super easy, and I'm willing to help anyone on the call who wants to know more on how to do it. Plug and play. So I mean, this is one of the huge value adds of this product, is the fact that you can basically take an appliance, and as long as the customer's environment has 443 outbound to it's a specific IP within Checkpoint to pull down the policy. It's basically auto updates on the fly with the latest policy. And there's two modes, which I'll talk about here. You can put it inline, or you can put it in span mode, right? So sniffing off a core switch. Inline does require a fail open card, right? And that's a layer 2 connection. So there's no routing decisions you need to make. There's no next hop. As far as the routing goes, you can basically cut cables over into that fail open card, and you can provide inline protection. It is fully managed from the SandBlast Now cloud, which I will show you. Deployment took me about 20 minutes last night from start to finish on setting up a domain, as well as imaging the device and getting it reporting to the SandBlast Now cloud. Automatic updates and upgrades, like I said, it's constantly phoning home for the latest IPS protections, the latest definitions within our anti-bot, and as well as any downloads are automatically sent to our cloud threat emulation for sandboxing. And all that kind of translates to best threat prevention policy if customers might not be up to snuff. So here's kind of a visual of what the product is. So like I said before, Threat Cloud is feeding this product. You can use sticks or other IOCs if you want to feed extra intel in. That is an option. But the idea here is, one of the challenges we had with security checkups in the past is that, once the appliances or the VMs are installed in an environment, you're kind of blind when you're running that checkup for the amount of time that you're running it, unless you're on-prem. And with SandBlast Now, the beauty is you can install this and log in regularly to see what's going on. And so if a customer is, let's say you're co-managing their estate for them, their IT environment, you can proactively log into this appliance and change policy as needed. You don't have to go on-prem, which is a huge deal from travel and expenses perspective. And I guess one of the biggest things also is this is not only limited to appliances, but we do offer this in VMware as well as AWS via Terraform templates. So this is kind of simplistic, but this is, the idea is that it's like plugging in a refrigerator, right? It's plug and play. So all you have to do is connect the device to the network. Obviously, you need to make sure that a management IP plays nicely within the network in order to phone home to Checkpoint to pull down the latest policy. If you're running anything, this runs on appliances that are 5Ks and above. So any of those are going to have, for the most part, they're all going to have LCDs, or you'll have to console in and maybe change management IP to play nicely in their network to allow for the updates. But then everything else happens automatically, right? So I'll talk more about this, but there's a blue status light, and basically when you plug it in, that blue status light is going to blink. That's showing that it's trying to phone home to Checkpoint to establish a tunnel to pull down the latest policy from Checkpoint. And then once that's done, that status light will turn blue, which is showing you that the tunnel is established and the latest policy has been pulled down. So little these are a little bit old in terminology. Vanguard is kind of the beta version of what we call this product, but here are the two different ways you can deploy. You can deploy inline. So layer 2 with fail open NICs. The reason why you need a fail open is that, you know, this is hardware, right? So if you put it in line and the box goes down for whatever reason, motherboard, power supply, if it's running a single power supply, fail open card will pass traffic and not take the network down if the SandBlast Now appliances were to go down. It's threat prevention with no risk to the firewall state. So because it's layer 2, there's no change to the routing at all. You're putting this in line and basically applying all the blades from the threat prevention layer. For those that are aware of, you know, R80. Does not require upgrade of existing firewall gear. So this can be used in conjunction as a supplemental threat prevention piece behind a gateway that might not be a checkpoint appliance. This is just a, you know, we believe in prevention and providing the best security for our customers. And ultimately, you know, if we're catching things that the incumbent is not, generally speaking, that customer will generally shift to us, right? This is kind of a proof of the pudding test here. And you know, last but not least, there on the inline is zero configuration plug and play deployment. So it's super easy. I know as a local SE, one of the big challenges for the partner SEs is just the amount of configuration it took in the past. And with this, we take all those barriers to entry out. You can literally have one of these sitting in the back of your car, and if a customer says they're interested, the literally only change you need to make is probably to the management IP, just so it can phone out by 443 back to checkpoint. And then you can either plug it in, you know, inline, or situation number 2 here is passive. So for customers who say, no, I don't want anything inline, but I want visibility into what's going on. Obviously in this scenario, you can't set anything to prevent, right? If you're not inline, you cannot block a packet. You can notify in it. So it's basically an IDS at this point. But it's good from a visibility standpoint if the customer wants to go this route. Obviously, you would need to work with them to mirror the traffic on their switch to the port on the SandBlast Now appliance. The image for SandBlast Now comes pre-configured with 2 pairs of inline bridge ports, as well as a monitor port, a span port. So there's no manual, you know, going in the web UI and setting interfaces. All that's done for you in the hotfix, which I'll go into here shortly on how to do that. So SandBlast Now versus NGTX gateways. Some of you guys might be out there thinking, well, okay, what is this? You know, is this taking over the standard, you know, checkpoint NGTP, NGTX gateway? No. What this is doing is it's strictly applying our threat prevention blade. So it does not support firewall. It does not do VPN, no anti-spam, no IA, identity awareness. This is strictly doing what, you know, checkpoint does best, which is the leading edge, high catch rate blocking threats. So just for anyone out there that was wondering, you know, why would I go with this over something else, a standard gateway? This would be a supplemental appliance sitting behind whatever they have. And there's, you know, you'd have to have a discussion with the customer to see if this even makes sense, right? So there's use cases for this. So like I said before, not only is this limited to appliances on-prem, but we are also able to deploy this technology in the cloud. So it's AWS only in today's world, and the deployment method is via Terraform. And as you can see down here, this is a presentation from our CPX in New Orleans. Pretty busy, so you can see in this map, you've had some hosts that are part of a botnet, so these guys in red sitting off to the side. But a lot of intel on the network, the topology, what's talking to what. This right here, I would say, is one of the biggest value adds of the product. And it's super cool, above and beyond like a standard security checkup, which would be blind to this, right? So if you are interested in playing with this, here is the link to the GitHub to actually pull down with all the steps to set up the Terraform playbook. And the requirements are there must be an existing AWS VPC. There must be an internet gateway with a default route. You have to have, it does require an NGTX pay-as-you-go license. And then obviously you'd have to set up a SandBlast Now domain, which I will talk about here in a little bit on how to set that up, which is super easy. So I'm gonna show a couple of screenshots just of what it looks like. And for those that are using our Checkpoint Infinity portal, this should look pretty familiar. In today's world, it's still separate from the portal. It's roadmap to be integrated into the Checkpoint Infinity portal. But here are some of the views for what it looks like. So you can have many different sentries out here. I'm going to go through and actually show and walk through what the product looks like step by step here. But you can have multiple, we call the gateways or the SandBlast Now appliances sentries. So you can have many of these out there, and they're all phoning home to either a single domain, or you can set up separate domains as for login. So you can see which appliances are connected back to Checkpoint Cloud, which are not. This is just showing top attacks, right? So by SandBlast Now appliance. So we have a bunch of AV hits. We've got some malicious downloads that happen, risky applications, right? So port scans happening. So the idea here is with the cloud management, you still have all this same rich functionality of Smart Event with all the dashboards, all the products within the NGT, the threat prevention suite of blades. The unique analytics and hunting tools, which is that map that I showed that shows which hosts are getting IPS hits, which are part of what we know to be a botnet based on the threat cloud intel. Full SIM integration, so we do integrate with Splunk, ArcSight, QRadar, Logarithm, and a few others. And incident alerting and response, and it is GDPR compliant, like I said before. So unique visualizations, traffic and applications, which is very similar to the views section of Smart Event. The live network map and model, which I think is one of the coolest parts of this. And I have to actually have some live maps from our incident response team that's been redacted, just so you can kind of see what some real action looks like here. The activity map. Activity map actually shows you basically by time and by date when events are happening in rapid succession, right? So the darker red it is, the more likely you're going to want to take a look and see what that is, right? To see if there's any time-based attacks. And then there's something called passive vulnerability sonar that's looking at our endpoints as well. So automatic reports, this is basically leveraging the same Smart Event functionality, so you can set up recurring reports off of this. So there's compliance, security checkups, IPS, various reports. You can have these kick off weekly, daily through a ticketing system. Security checkup reports, like I said, I think that's one of the greatest value adds for this product is just visibility within existing customers that might not be running full NGTX, if they're still running NGTP or maybe NGFW for some reason. You can use this as a visibility tool to say, hey, your other products, if they're running, especially if they're running like NGFW, if they're not running the full suite, but they say, hey, well, I have other products that are covering the sandboxing portion, you can basically put this behind it and see if there are gaps, right? And then we can, it's basically an upsell opportunity. SCADA and IoT visibility. So basically it maps a lot of different IPs within the network. I'll show that within my own home network here shortly. And then found vulnerable hosts. And then full visibility. So there's a patent pending technology called cooperative HTTPS inspection that this product does use. That's not standard HTTPS inspection of basically the man in the middle asymmetric encryption that Checkpoint, our standard Checkpoint gateways use. Cooperative HTTPS inspection is basically symmetric key inspection, and that's through an agent that then basically on the server or on the host, basically there's an agent that will basically, from that we can share a key between that, and that is a checkpoint patent pending technology, and that can be used for either inbound or outbound traffic on this technology for SandBlast Now. So here's a map from a actual customer. As you can see, it can look pretty busy, but a lot of intel, right? I mean, this is just from a single gateway, being able to see all the traffic, all the flows going through it, and like multicast broadcasts, you can see what else is out there, right? And very cool stuff. There's a lot of ways to pull it out and view other sections of the network. Every node that you see there, you can click on, you can see what the IP is, you can see what the operating system is, and it's a great visibility tool, much like for those that know, our Dome 9 product on public cloud. It's a fantastic visibility tool, and highly encourage, from the ease of install, I would highly encourage everyone, especially in our partner community, to fire this up in either your home labs or in test labs within your company environments to see what we see, right? So here's some screenshots from actual customers that were engaged with our incident response team. So the Checkpoint IR team does use SandBlast Now as a tool, a rapid deployment tool to help take care of customers, right? So if we have a customer that's not a Checkpoint, they're not a Checkpoint customer, but they need our help, right? And they engage us, we can slap one of these in immediately in line, right? And block threats. You don't have to get a bunch of build info. It's all about stopping it immediately. And you can see there's a ton, you've got a host that's basically talking to a network of that's launching IPS attacks, right? So super interesting visualizations that we have. Some others, right? So we have an internal host, 192.168.1.7, that is getting slammed by multiple countries on what would appear probably a port scan. And here's another one showing that you have two hosts in red here. They're basically part of a botnet. They're phoning home to a command and control server. And we can also see that there's some other hosts involved in that as well. This part should look pretty familiar to most people that have Checkpoint experience. So this is, on the views section, you can, this is the application sites view, but we have the same visibility on medium, high, critical level application that are flowing through the SandBlast Now appliance. Vulnerability sonar. So this is basically looking at all the flows of hosts going through it and protections that are basically being applied to it. So kind of recap here, we've got one-click detect and prevent mode. So the beauty again here with this is that you can install this at a customer. I did a use case here. I did one last year. It was a law firm down in Jacksonville. I live in Atlanta, 500 miles away. I installed it, was sitting behind a Sonic wall. I go home, it was there for 2 weeks, and I just checked in every morning to see, what are we seeing? And the customer obviously signed off on that. And we noticed that there was an RDP session originating from Russia that was hitting my box. And I did have an inline card in the appliance, so I was able to turn it from detect to prevent. And we were actively able to stop that threat. We notified the partner, we notified the customer. And then at that point, you're almost guaranteeing that they're going to buy, because at that point, it's like, if we take this out, your current solution is not able to prevent what we just showed you. And so it's super cool, the fact that you can monitor appliances remotely and jump on it as needed. And logistics aren't an issue. Full advanced threat prevention. So once again, it's our threat prevention blade, or threat prevention suite of blades. So it's our antivirus, anti-bot, threat emulation, IPS. And so, as far as setting it from detect to prevent, here's what the newer dashboard looks like here. So you can see that there's a bunch of files that came in. We had it all in detect just for, visibility standpoint. But on the fly here, you just click on one of these. This one that's highlighted as detect. You click on it, you would edit it, and then when you go ahead and edit it, you can basically action, it's on detect, you would click on obviously prevents and then save. And at that point, from this cloud management, it would push that policy immediately to the relevant SandBlast Now appliance and block whatever, in this case, it's a file, it's MD5 hash. But same thing goes for IPS protections, anything else that we might see. So you do have the capability of importing your own IOCs, right? So sticks, taxi, snort rules. That is a possibility. You can do this push policy to all sensors, specific sensors. Sensor in this case is a SandBlast Now appliance. And there is granularity on if you have administrators, who can see hits, who can't, kind of classic checkpoint administration management rules. So just to recap here, I think we've kind of gone through all of this, but passive HTTPS inspections based on local cooperators. A cooperator is an agent that allows us to basically share a key with the gateway to actually inspect the traffic. So SandBlast Now, your eyes into the network, right? Deploy, hunt, prevent, easy to deploy. You don't need build info. All you need is a management IP that plays nicely in that customer's network. And if they want it, obviously, if they don't want it inline and they want it, well, if they want it inline, you might need a maintenance window or early in the morning, right? You're gonna have to cut some cables over, which will obviously break the traffic for a short amount of time. Or if they want it to do in sniff mode, you would need to work with them to have them mirror traffic from the switch to the mirror port on the SandBlast Now appliance. And then obviously with the hunts, with the visualization tools, you can do that from the comfort of your home office. And then on the prevent side, it's running the latest protections from Checkpoint. And you can set that up and detect just for visibility standpoint, but you can obviously flip that over to prevent and actually show value and protect the customers. So roadmap. We have hosted and private now clouds, it's operational minutes, kind of going through all that. In the near term, we're going to have Infinity Portal integration. It's not there yet, but we are working on it. Cooperative HTTPS inspection. We have it on the inbound, but not on the outbound yet. Inbound is generally good enough, but if you need customers that want both ways on the flows, contact me. I can work with R&D to fast track that. Custom IOC management, ticketing and alerting. And then longer term is SandBlast agent integration. And I think a lot of this goes down to the mapping of the networks. Nano agents, agentless host analysis, zero config identity awareness, custom IOCs to security gateways, and retrospective analysis. So how do you build one? So here are the steps. And I did this yesterday. I've built a bunch of these over the last year or so. This has kind of been my go-to method, especially for security checkups, just because it is so easy. And it's so easy to just drop these appliances off with partner engineers who might not know Checkpoint super well, but this really tears down a lot of the barriers on configuring and getting all the policies best practice. So you basically set up a domain. So at that link for now.checkpoint.com, you would create a domain. You would receive an email and then download a certificate. And this certificate is what authenticates you to then log into the management portal, the cloud portal for that domain. You would then obviously import that into your personal store of your web browser to use. And then that takes care of the management side. Now we need to obviously provision a SandBlast Now appliance. It runs on 5K, 5,000 series appliances and up. And the hotfix that you can see, that TGZ, is an R8040, which is a 310 kernel. So you need to run, for the factory reset, you do want to reset to at least 80.20, which is also 310 kernel or higher. So then you would factory reset to 8020. You do a first time wizard, build it as a standalone. Then you're going to set your management IP for that gateway. And then log into the web UI, go down to CPUs, download the latest deployment agents. And then at that point, you go to the cloud hotfix button, and you would paste in this text string here verbatim. Whoops. So blink image checkpoint now. You would paste that in verbatim. You'll that TGZ will be returned. You will download it. You will clean install it. You do not upgrade. That will not work. Clean install it, which is basically, and what this is doing is it's running a blink script. For those that are familiar with blink, appliance will reboot twice, and then immediately, once it's back up after the second reboot, that blue status light on the appliance will start blinking. That's letting you know that it's phoning home to checkpoint over 443 to pull down the latest policy. Solid blue light status means it's connected. There's some CLI commands that you can run as well to verify that the tunnel is up to checkpoint on the policy. And then at that point, you just connect back to the management server. Here, this link, you'd log in with your certificate, and then you would go to that Sentry section and add the MAC address of the appliance. And that's what will tie the appliance to the cloud domain that you've dictated. And then as far as the interface config on the appliance, how does that work, right? So VOR, it's a little bit different on the appliances, but interface 1 on the onboard, ETH1, is automatically set as span monitor. And then bays 1 and 2 are set as inline. So on the embedded interfaces, ETH1 is going to be monitor, ETH2 and 3 are going to be a bridge pair. But best practice is to install a fail open card. And so then if you install the fail open card, obviously you would do that before you load that clean install that TGZ. Then you have 2 bridge pairs at that point. So ETH1 on that fail open card and ETH2 are a bridge pair, ETH3 and ETH4 are a bridge pair. And then on that, I'm not quite done. I was going to go ahead and just share my, so this is I'll do Q&A here in a little bit. This is, I've got a 5800 here that I just provisioned yesterday. I don't have a ton of traffic going through it, and it's basically just some VMs in my lab going through it, and obviously my laptop here. So, but I did want to show what this looks like. So this is the Cyber Defense Center. So once you log in, this is what it'll look like. And actually, I'll just fire this up from the beginning, just so you can see what the whole flow looks like. Stand by. Oops. So we'll go ahead and sign in. I've got a few other certs here. Ooh, user unauthorized. Hold on. So I already have a session open, I think. All right, here we go. So we're logging in. So I'm in my Radiolab domain that I set up. You can set up multiple domains for different customers. So what I did here, we'll just go last 7 days. And I did have some threats here, but they're not showing up. But basically, I can lob, if I go to, let's say, OpenFish, let's go ahead and generate some traffic. Okay, that's blocked by Google, but let's see if we get some action here on the gateway. This is basically my next hop out. It sometimes takes a minute here to show up. See if we can find another one here. Challenge with OpenFish is a lot of these get blocked fairly soon after they were created. So it's kind of a game of cat and mouse. And I have a bunch of checkpoint gear that this is going through already. All right, well, I'm just going to move on here. So I did generate some antivirus hits that this blocked yesterday, but this is your dashboard for management. For adding the SandBlast Now appliances, that would be here. Plans, so for those that are familiar with the SMP portal, this kind of uses the SMP portal with SMB appliances. So this does run off of plans. So you can see here, I've got threat prevention on, extended visibility, prevent mode is off. Threat extraction, you can turn on. Threat emulation, obviously you can turn on. Packet capture, you can turn on. There are exceptions you can fire up as well. And you can do many sentries, many SandBlast Now appliances, obviously within each domain as you see fit. And then for the summaries, right, you've got timeline. This is basically smart view, if you will. Application views, top attacks, data flow, internal traffic. The logs. Reports. So this is where, especially for security checkups, where it's huge, you can basically request a security checkup report right from here, right? So you don't need to log into a management server on-prem to actually do this. So you just go to request this date to today. I mean, it doesn't matter here. English, type, and then here are all the different reports you can pull from the cloud instance. So compliance, content awareness, but you also have security checkup, anonymized, advanced, SaaS, statistics. Usually we do the security checkup advanced, and then you can get this report emailed, right? So email to myself, to a customer, multiple people, depending on what you want to do, which is huge. And then on the analytics, this is the threat topology. So this is that map I was talking about, showing hosts that are connected to each other. And I don't have any logs in here right now, but as this populates, you'll see different IPs within the network, what's talking to what, and it gives that visualization. This is, I think, one of the coolest features of SandBlast Now. And then this is where you can, for the indicators, bulk edit, add from file. This is where you can add in snort rules, any of your custom IOCs that you might have that you want to add in as well as a partner, right? So this is where you can do that. So, with that, I think I've covered pretty much everything that I was going to. I think it is Q&A time, and I will see what's in Q&A section. So we have a question. I see cooperative HTTP inspection. How does that compare to traditional URL filtering? I have clients looking for an easy way to deploy URL filtering, wondering if this might be a play. So we are able to get visibility on the URLs are going through, right? So if I go back to my deck, let's see here. And we go back to the application screen that actually had logs. You can see what's going through it, but you cannot block them. So it's basically a visualization tool to show what's happening. But at that point, if we're seeing this on the app control side, it's basically a discussion of, hey, we're seeing this. Do you want to buy a checkpoint appliance, like a full gateway? So question number 2 is SPAN best for environments that employ ether channels or HA firewalls? The answer there, it depends, right? So if the core switch is sitting right behind that HA firewall, it really depends on the customer, right? So the beauty of SPAN is that it's non-intrusive. It's not going to impact, there's no maintenance window, there's no break in packet flow at all whatsoever, right? So most customers, in my history of doing 40 security checkups, is customers usually go over the SPAN route because they want the visibility, but no impact to the environment. So for larger customers, generally it's going to be a SPAN discussion. Smaller customers are more able to physically, like you come in at 7 a.m. and before anyone comes in the office, you can just swap cables over. So it's really a discussion with them. If they've got something like Gigamon, like a tap, right, already, then that's easy to do. So I would say if they're running an HA setup, you'd probably want to do a SPAN. And then if you find things, then it's like, okay, let's talk about getting something in line. And at that point, it might not even be a SandBlast Now discussion. It might be a replacement discussion, right, of their HA firewalls, if depending on what it is, right? Because SandBlast Now is not an NGTX gateway. It's only the threat prevention blades. So it's kind of you need to determine what the best fit is for the customer at that point. Will we be able to copy the slides from the webinar? Absolutely. For whoever that is, my email address is wready@checkpoint.com. Go ahead and email me and I can send these to you. Are there any other questions at this time? So with that, I would just encourage everyone to, this session has been recorded, it will be sent out. I would encourage all of our partners out there, go to that GitHub link for your test AWS environments. If you don't have Terraform, spin one up, play with it. For customers, I think this, customers moving to cloud, between this and Dome 9, I mean, there's a lot of value to be had out there on the cloud side. And then if you've got, gateway sitting out there, 5K or above, or if you don't, work with your channel SE, your relevant channel SE, and we will get the equipment for you to get it in your environment, get you guys playing with it. It's a great tool. It's really easy to use, and it just really shortens the sales cycle to show value to your customers faster and with less configuration possible headaches. So any other questions? So my email address one more time is WREAD as in Delta Y @checkpoint.com. WReady@checkpoint.com. All right, if there are no more questions, I will turn it back over to Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. And thank you guys all for joining. We will be sending out the recording, and we will also include his email address in that email. And then if you guys have any additional questions or anything, you can always reach out. Thank you.